From Nehemiah. Nehemiah. Chapter 1. You all should be able to push me on this sermon because you should know it. Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 4 through 6, and verse 11. And this is from the King James Version of the Bible. Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 4 through 6 and 11. And it came to pass when I heard these words that I sat down and wept, and mourned certain days, and fasted, and prayed before the God of heaven, and said, I beseech thee, O Lord God of heaven, great and terrible God, that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love him and obey his commandments. Let thine ears now be attentive and thy eyes open, that thou mayest hear the prayer of thy servant, which I pray before thee now, day and night, for the children of Israel, thy servants, and confess the sin of the children of Israel, which we have sinned against thee, both I and my father's house have sinned. Verse 11, O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thy ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant, and the prayer of thy servants, who desire to fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee, thy servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of man, for I was the king's cupbearer. May be seated. We sing this song. We want to talk today about a doer and not a talker.
Yes.
A doer and not a talker. What the thrust of this message is, a song that we sing quite often here in the church. Jesus is on the main line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jesus is on the main line.
Yes, yes.
A doer and not a talker. A doer is one that sees things that need to be done,
Yes, yes.
and they won't ask no question. They'll just go on and do it. But I used to hear my mom and them say, empty wagons make a lot of noise. Talk. All they do is run off at the mouth and don't nothing ever get done. Let's listen at the talk. What the church need is I can't believe our government officials If I were there, I would. Someone ought to do something.
Yes.
What you dealing with? The talk. The talk. Gripers, complaints,
Yes.
self-proclaimed prophet, armchair quarterbacks, you'll find them everywhere.
Yes, Lord.
You've heard me say on those occasions, I'm sure that Brother Line has heard it too, especially he said, that pastor, you heard me say this, that pastors have the easiest job in the church
Yes, Lord.
because everybody can tell him
Yes.
how to do it.
Yes. Yes.
But when push comes to shove,
Yes, Lord. Yes.
and when the work began,
Yes. Yes. Again.
those that are always running off at the mouth
Come on, tell it.
can't be found.
Amen.
Come on.
It's easy to analyze, scrutinize, and talk about all the problems of the world.
Yes.
I wish I had some help. A lot of times the pastor of the church, he has to stand alone.
Yes, Lord.
You heard the sermon last week about it's hard to be a pastor
Yes, Lord.
because the pastor has to chastise and tell grown folk
Amen. Yes, Lord.
when they are doing wrong.
Yes, Lord.
Pastors need pastor,
Yes.
a pastor.
Yes, Lord.
Pastors can't talk to everybody.
Yes, Lord.
I just met one over in Byram. I'm quite sure Reverend Byron know him, and I gained a lot of respect from him, and that was Pastor Jesse Weathersby.
No.
Yeah, last Saturday we buried his wife. And I sit in his home and I talked with him, even though she was the hospice patient, he and I held the majority of the conversation.
All right. All right.
And I asked him the question, I say, Pastor Weathersby, I want you to tell me the reason why there is so many problems in the church. And he said to me, he said, preacher, you really don't want me to answer that question. Yes, sir, I want to know why there are so many problems in the church. And he looked at me, and when I was sitting, I said, I better try to tighten up on this one because he getting ready to tell me something.
All right. All right.
He said, it stopped with the preacher. I say, what? He said, the problem in the church starts with the pastor.
Yes.
I need you to help me understand. He said, first of all, the pastor should be just like a husband and a wife.
Yes. Yes.
I say, okay. He said, pastor can't have a man can't have but one wife. I said, okay. I got it now. Only I'm following him. I know where he's going. He says, you have too many pastors that wants to have too many churches. He said, when you have a pastor that has too many churches, something is going like it. I ain't saying nothing, I'm just listening to him. And he says, the deacons are the ones that run the church.
Yes, Lord.
He says, let me share something with you, preacher. He said, if you got multiple churches, this church needs you to come and do something, but you are obligated on this Sunday to go to this church. The church that needs you is going to be neglected. And they are going to call on the deacons to come to their beck and call. And they want to do that while the pastor is running. And he has lost control of the church. And I started thinking about that now. Yeah, you're right. Because when I was growing up, you had a first Sunday church, second Sunday church, third Sunday church, a fourth Sunday church, and it was a toss-up on the fifth Sunday. Pastor lived in Waterproof, lived about 80-some miles from his church. Well, when that number in Waterproof had a problem, that pastor living in some 80-some miles, 9 times out of 10 told me he wasn't coming down to the woods behind Williamsburg and Monroe trying to get. So who did they call? They called the deacon.
Yes.
And then he said the deacon started getting power. And that's a word divine that I don't like, especially in the church. Power. Power gets you hurt.
Get you hurt. That's right.
Because people will hurt you
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
for power. Even though I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Baptist Church, I don't have any power.
All right. All right.
I have a word, but I don't have any power. Oh, yes, you do. You run the church. No, I don't run the church. The board of directors, notice what I said. You'll catch that on the way home.
Yes.
The board of directors
Yes. Yes.
controls the church.
Yes.
Notice I didn't say the pastor.
Yes.
Notice I didn't say the deacons. Notice I didn't say the trustee. I said the board of directors. There is nothing that go on in this church on a major magnitude that I do not summon the board of directors and get their opinion. Since I've been pastoring, two major incidents. When the south side caught a fire and burned up, I didn't go over there and make no decision. I called the board of directors, and together we sit down and came to a working solution. When the 3 trees fell on the church, I didn't make no decision. I summoned the board of directors, and we together, I hope you're picking up because I'm preaching right now, we together made the decision. Over in the first chapter of the book of Isaiah, it says, come, let us sit down at the table. And when that word reason and say, let's talk about this time and see which way we have to go. So, talkers. Church don't need talkers.
Amen.
The church needs doers.
Yes, yes.
Seeing something that has to be done. You need somebody that's going to do it.
Yes.
But what we really need is people who will not just discuss a situation, but will do something about that situation.
Yes, yes.
Nehemiah saw a problem. Nehemiah was distressed over the problem. Instead of wallowing in self-pity and grief, Nehemiah took action. Nehemiah knew that God wanted him to go back home to Jerusalem and do some work in and around his hometown. So he went this particular one. Let me help you with something else. Nehemiah had a good job. Nehemiah had a good job. I wouldn't have wanted it, but he had a good job back in the day. Nehemiah was a cupbearer, which meant that everything he had to taste everything.
That's right.
Are you with me? No, what I said. Nehemiah had a good job.
Yes.
Nehemiah had to taste everything before it went to the king's mouth.
Yes,
Are y'all with me? If it was poison, guess who died? And the king would have ate it. He was a cupbearer. But they put a lot of emphasis divine on wine. So they must do a lot of
Drinking.
they must do a lot of that drinking back in those days. Huh? The king knew Nehemiah because he had been working for him for so long. But this particular day, see, that's why I tell you all the time, when you have a confrontation with Jesus,
Yes.
that's going to be a change. Things that you used to do, won't do no more.
All right.
Places that you used to go, won't go no more. 15th of October 1978, when I walked down the Brown Building on 3rd Avenue in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I pointed up to the Lord, I'd never drink another drop behind liquor. I remember that. I slipped. And that Saturday afternoon, he slipped. As soon as it happened, it dawned on me, you made a promise to the Lord. And you broke your promise. I ain't slipped since. But Nehemiah worked so closely with the king till the king knew him and Nehemiah knew the king. So, but God had put it on Nehemiah's heart to go back home and do some work. Nehemiah had heard the talkers running off at the mouth about the condition of Jerusalem. So he heard the conversation and he actually said, how is Jerusalem? And they told him, say, the temple is built, but the walls are still torn down. And your people, the people there are still being mistreated.
All right. Yes.
That troubled Nehemiah and it hurt him. And then, if you notice, it says he fasted and he prayed. And the Lord put it on his heart to do what? Go back home and do some work. Nehemiah went before the king, and when he got before the king looked at him and said, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Oh, yes, it is. There's something wrong with you. Because all the years that you've been working with me and coming in before me, I've never seen you look like this.
Yes.
Now what's wrong? Nothing. That's why I had no pastor. You ought to get to know me,
Yes, Lord.
and I get to know you.
Amen.
According to the Bible in the New Testament, it says, what the shepherd knows his sheep. That's what the book says. And they know the shepherd's voice.
That's right. Strength.
I could be out there in that yard and the dogs could be running all the way out to their front. But I can call Rachel and you can rest assured. Sophie is slow, but Rachel gonna get in a hurry coming to my voice. And Sister Harris talked to them dogs and they don't want to act right, and she put that thing in her hand. They know what time it is.
Yes.
The king knew something was wrong with Nehemiah. He said, what's wrong with you, boy? And he said, oh, king,
Okay.
I do have a problem. Back home in my hometown,
That's right.
the walls are still torn down.
Yes, Lord.
There's people that's talking, but ain't nobody doing anything.
All right. All right.
So the king conversation, well, what you want me to do? And he left himself wide open. Nehemiah said, I want you
Yes. Yes.
to let me go back home.
Yes.
I can go back to waterproof
Yes, Lord.
when I can't go nowhere else.
Amen.
2 lots over there,
Yes, Lord.
but I pay taxes on those lots.
Yes.
And if I wanted to put me a shack
Yes.
upon those lots,
Yes.
I could do that.
Yes.
But Nehemiah said, I want to go back home
Yes, Lord.
because my people are suffering.
Yes. Yes.
And I did some in-depth study. All of the little cities had walls built around the city.
Yes, Lord.
And the walls were for protection.
Yes. Yes.
Are you with me?
Come on, come on.
The gates used to open at 6 in the morning,
Yes. Yes.
and they were closed at 6 in the afternoon.
Yes.
But doing seminary study, we used to get in depth, and I asked the question. I said, I used to hear them talk about all the time about the eye of an eagle. Camel can't go through the eye of an eagle. One of the old professors, he says, Reverend Harris, I want you to picture something. During the day,
Yes.
the big gates is wide open.
Yes, Lord.
Traders and then safaris can come in and out.
Yes, Lord.
Say what at 6 o'clock,
Yes.
the big gates are closed.
Yes. Yes.
And at the bottom of that gate, are y'all with me? Try to help me now. At the bottom of that gate will be an opening
Yes.
just big enough for a man
Yes.
to go through.
All right.
And when he goes through, he had to go past the guard.
Yes, sir.
In other words, a camel with that big old hump on it could not get through. And y'all ain't with me? Whether you know it or not, I'm preaching. Couldn't get through the little hole.
Yes.
They had to wait till the soldiers were back on their posts in the morning.
Yes.
And the big gates open.
Yes.
He said the walls are torn down.
Yes, Lord.
People in and around the area is still devastated
Yes.
and hurting my people because they don't have any protection. Are you going to talk back to me? Nehemiah was motivated to rebuild the Jerusalem walls.
Yes, Lord.
So he left a responsible position in the present government to do what God wanted him to do. Can you talk back to him? Nehemiah knew God could use his talent
Yes. Yes.
to get a job done.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a question. Can he use your talents today to get a job done? Can and not a doer. From the moment he arrived in Bethlehem and Jerusalem, everyone knew who was in charge. Watch it. He organized, he managed, supervised, encouraged, met opposition, confronted justice, but he kept on going until the walls was built. He knew that all he had to do was use one little simple method. And he could get whatever he wanted. Are y'all helping with this line? He knew that all he had to do was to call on the Lord. And the Lord would answer his prayer. That's why today they tell you Jesus is on the mainland. And all you have to do is just call him up and tell him what you want. Are you going to talk back to me? Yeah. Although the Jews completed the temple, the city walls remained in shambles for the 17 years. These walls represented power, protection, and beauty to the city. They were desperately needed to protect the temple from attacks and to ensure continuity of worship. That's the reason why a lot of times ushers are stationed on the door. And if it look like a duck, walk like a duck, quack like a duck, trying to get into church, it's a duck. It is the usher's responsibility to confront them first. Are you going to talk to them? Although the Jews completed the temple, the walls remained in shambles. They were desperately needed to protect the temple. A church without a vision is a church that will perish. Are you going to talk back to me? Does God have a vision for us? I stopped by today to tell you the answer is yes. Are there walls in our church that need to be rebuilt? Yes, there are, after being out of the church for 14 months. There's some areas that have gone along by the wayside. Are you going to help me? The worship board, the worship ministry needs to be rebuilt. Some of them have forgotten who the president is. Some of them have forgotten the do's and don'ts of the Lord. I wish I could make some help there. There are the deacon ministries. The deacon ministry needs to be re-strengthened. They need to come together and discuss various things. They need to come together and sit down and talk with their pastor. The choir needs to be rebuilt. There are voices that used to be able to reach the top, but because of the 14-month delay, the voices have got back to where they were. Singing, you got to train the boy. And when you train the boy, you don't use it. You have a tendency to lose it. The first time that I came back in here, even though I preach every Saturday, but when I came back in here, and I tried to preach to a live congregation, if you notice, I got hold simply because I was excited, and I hadn't preached to a congregation in a while. I struggle sometimes, but I'm only got to say, oh, can I get a witness? has given us. We can mobilize others to pray, put together a plan of action. You're going to help me. I never would have believed that we would have members in the city of Jackson on every corner, just about in the Jackson City. There is, I say there is, there is, there is some kind of touch. When I go to those old ladies' ask them because they are confined to the bed. They have all kinds. They have pictures. I ask them, do you have a pastor? And they say no. Do you have a church family? They say no. Do you have a community? And they say no. And other things. There is too many churches in Jackson for anybody not to be saved. So every time minister when you call